let's go watch it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
This is a momentous occasion. Superheroes from all over the planet. Wow. The powers, the costumes, the mythic struggles. Frozen. Elastigirl. Mr. Incredible.
Hey, what about us?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
This podcast is brought to you by 3D Wiggle. With 3D Wiggle software, you can impress your family and friends with 3D gifts and videos. To find out more information, please click on the link in the description for 20% off coupon as well. This podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. With Patreon, you can become a patron and get this podcast commercial free and get many more benefits. Please click on the description again to get more information. Now, back to the show. Hello. This is Adolph Vega with
James Tate.
And today we're reviewing Incredibles 2 with full spoilers.
Yep.
So if you have not seen the movie and you care about spoilers, then, cut it off now.
Yep.
Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Alright, so obviously, we talked about this before, James. Was our confirmation, or were we right to assume that this would not be as good as we thought it was going to be, or were we wrong? Were you disappointed?
Sadly, we were kind of right.
Okay, so let's go beat by beat and talk about the story. The beginning of the movie is literally the end of the first movie.
Yeah.
Did you actually think the ending with the first one would lead into the sequel? Or
No.
do you think? Because I thought it was just kind of a fun way to be like, more, to be continued, but not really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was more of an ending, and I do believe, honestly, that that was the intention. Because I never felt like it was the type of cliffhanger that they ever intended to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always thought it was just a cute way to say more adventures to come, but not really.
Yeah. Like, it's basically just a way of saying, alright, well, the family of superheroes will go on more adventures. That's what it was saying.
Yeah.
And so, the first scene is like, they're running after this, giant drill.
The Underminer.
The Underminer's giant drill, and, he goes underground, and he, basically wants to drill under a bank, and he, gets all the money, and then, leaves and completely exits the film. He never appears again.
Never to be mentioned, basically, again.
I mean, after that scene, realistically speaking, yeah, he just disappears. He's still on the loose. He's still got all the money.
Yeah. Did you mention it? The police, did you catch him? Did you get back the money?
No, he got away. It's oh, okay.
And all the buildings that he destroyed are still destroyed. You never get any resolution there.
No, you don't. It's one of those things where it's kind of weird because Underminer seems like a C-list villain And, like, if they can beat Syndrome and, you know, the villain here, who are, like, supposed to be way smarter, why is this mole-looking guy with the drill more powerful than them? Like,
More
I
clever,
don't know.
you know. Smarter.
Whatever. Anyway. So, after that, you know, they do kind of this weird thing where they open the film up, and I forgot to mention this, and the reason why we didn't mention this is because they have this weird thing where they open the film up with, like, this kid getting his memory erased. But the weird thing about it is that it takes place after the events of the fight with the Underminer. So, like, you see why exactly, you know, because this kid sees that Violet's a true identity. That, you know, which, I mean, come on, it's just a mask. You can see everything else.
Yeah.
It's not much of a thing that hides your identity. But yeah, so basically he gets his mind erased. Like, that's the first thing you see, and then you see the fight scene, and then you see it's just shot, and then they kind of cut back to it.
Mm-hmm.
I would have like that direction, like that director, like I would have cut that differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think that was kind of weird?
So, yeah, you get a flash forward, and then you get how that happened, you know?
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think, like, because, okay, up right after where the first one, you would think that would be the first scene that they would show you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I kind of don't think that scene was needed. He clearly said that he, you know, that Mr. Incredible talked to the guy and he's like, yeah, can you take care of that? And they explain it, so you don't really...
Yeah, it's not like you really need that to understand it. It's one of those things that could have happened off screen and everything would have still made complete sense. You know?
Yeah.
And then also, to add on to that, the fact of that, later it kind of reminds you and kind of acts like the audience didn't know. Like, for example, the whole, like, this is kind of getting into, like, more into the film, which we will get to. But there's later, like, this subplot where, you know, Violet wants to get with this guy who, at the end of the first movie, this is the reason I guess they make such a big deal about it. At the end of the first movie, you know, she sets up this date with this guy on Friday. And because he gets his mind wiped, you know, like literally minutes after the first film ends, he doesn't remember it. And they sort of remind you in the sense of, like, you know, that scene never happened. You know what I mean? Like, that's not good, like,
continuity.
Yeah, that's not good. Well, it's not, it's bad, thing because it's trying to, like, you have to tell the audience again when they already know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, you know, Violet doesn't go on the date, and then, you know, she's upset, and, you know, we get that side story, but let's get back to the main point. So, you know, they get arrested, and they, I guess it's illegal, but he had connections, and he was able to get them off. So they're
able to get a hotel.
Yeah, and they, you know, got 2 weeks, and Frozzo sees a business guy, and he was like, you know, I have an offer for you. And Frozzo comes to Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl's hotel, which I don't know how he knows where they are.
Yeah, they don't really explain that.
This is like a Nero 60s, so they don't have cell phones. It's like a futuristic 60s, you know.
Yeah, it's to put it best, I like to say it's just an alternate, you know, universe.
So
obviously,
they go over there, and he talks to Frozone talks to Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl about the plan, and they want all three of them to go, but they don't want all three of them. They only want Elastigirl.
Yeah, that is something that I kind of thought was really strange. Is they in this movie they kind of this company makes a big deal about we want you three to represent, and that's not true at all. They only want Elastigirl, and they only use Elastigirl. And getting later into the film, she's really the only one that does anything in the movie.
Yeah,
like you could we could argue about other characters doing minor things, but realistically speaking, she's kind of what gets the plot rolling, and she does the majority of the things. And I'm not exactly sure why they did this, honestly.
I mean, the way they handled it, that, she's not going to do so much damage. Okay, fine, you could start her off, but why not give Mr. Incredible and Frozone mission 2 and 3 or something,
Yeah, exactly. Because, okay, let's put it this way. It's like, for this universe, and this is kind of an abstract here, but in this superhero universe, in this Incredibles version, Frozone, Elastigirl, and Mr. Incredible are basically the Trinity from DC. They're Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Well, it's like if you hire all three of them, and then for some reason you only get Wonder Woman to do anything. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any sense. It's weird.
So,
and
Yeah, no, I agree. I guess it feels rushed, and they really try to focus on Elastigirl, but they could have had a scene just to expand it out. And I think rushed is a good word, because the timeline here, I mentioned it before, continuity-wise, it doesn't make sense. Things happen so quickly that they're like, well, the people are against superheroes, and then, look at the mess you made with Underminer, and then next day...
That bothered me. Like, you have literally in the scene where they're all as a family, like all the people are protesting and they're mad and like they don't like supers. Then you literally have like Elastigirl go on her own, and she's got like her own fan base.
One day.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any logical sense. If they were to explain that it was like a year or two,
yes,
and she's gotten some good press,
yes,
you know what I mean? Like but it's literally the next day.
Literally, they explain it. Oh, we have cameras, so we could show people what's going on, and there's
but that'll take time.
Yeah, it takes time.
Also, by the way, that's literally just a plot point later. Like that doesn't. There's no okay, we're gonna make it a plot point to show the footage to change people's minds. Like, you don't even need to do that. She just instantly has massive appeal, and all the people are cheering for the super. It makes no sense.
So yeah, the next day, she goes on her mission to save the train, and then we figure out there's another villain, which is the
screen slaver. Yeah, the screen slaver.
And he uses hypnotism to, get people to do his bidding, and has a big strobe effect. It's actually become kind of controversial because little kids are getting epilepsy, and
yeah,
it's what it is. But I actually noted it in the 3D part of the spoiler-free review that watching it in 3D kind of threw me off because, how the 3D works and the blinking lights kind of threw it off. But
I think I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with the concept on paper, like a supervillain who manipulates people through like the television or like through screens. That's kind of a cool concept. However, getting back to the later portion of the film, which, if you ask me, this film's a mess, and a lot of the problems the film has come from like it as a whole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me explain it this way. Like, spoiler alert: this villain doesn't have any superpowers. How is this villain able to just shine bright light at someone and then turn them into their slave? Like they follow commands and do things that shouldn't happen. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they try to play up the hypnotism aspect, but it doesn't make sense. It just whatever.
What they should have just said is that this supervillain also has powers. They just said that too. They should have said that their powers only work through technology, though. Like it would still, even though that's still kind of like, about it, it's that realm of fantasy that you don't have to come up with an explanation of it. You got people stretching. You got like this infant who has like literally all the powers. Like you don't need to explain it any more than that.
So okay, so Elastigirl saves the day with the train.
Yeah,
and it was a cool scene. I liked it.
Yeah, it was. I kind of felt it was a retread of the first one, though.
Yeah.
Like,
the whole movie is a retread.
Okay, but don't you see like direct like?
No, you're right.
Speaking, the only difference between this and the first one is it's Elastigirl. It takes place in the day, and it's going in reverse. Those are the only three differences.
Yeah, because the first Incredibles, Mr. Incredible is asked to do a mission to help supers, and now it's Elastigirl doing a mission to do supers. Yeah, and it's the same thing, just reverse.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Yeah.
So you go back and Mr. Incredible is trying to take care of the kids, and he's trying to help Dash with his math homework, which they basically showed the entire scene in the trailer, which I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's also not really I feel that's another plot point that really goes nowhere. He's having trouble in school. Like you could do stuff with that, but honestly, what they do is they just, have the scene for comedic effect with, Mr. Incredible, the textbook, and then, he just stays up and reads the book, and then there's no mention of that subplot at all.
Yeah, and that's a continuity error, because you see Violet getting upset that the guy didn't come for the date, and she runs upstairs, and then he wakes up early to teach his kids how to go to school, and wait, that was Friday. The kids are going to school on a Saturday?
Yeah.
So that's a minor thing, but the thing is, they don't really need to say the day. Just could have said, tonight,
Yeah, by the way, I have a huge problem with the fact that at no point in this movie do they show any of Flash or Violet's school life is affected by recent events. Granted, that wasn't a huge part of the last one, but it just seems like another thing that wasn't there, and what could have been a part of the story. Like, he's struggling in math. Okay, show that in the film.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
This podcast is brought to you by 3D Wiggle. With 3D Wiggle software, you can impress your family and friends with 3D gifts and videos. To find out more information, please click on the link in the description for 20% off coupon as well. This podcast is also brought to you by Patreon. With Patreon, you can become a patron and get this podcast commercial free and get many more benefits. Please click on the description again to get more information. Now, back to the show. So, yeah, Violet does get upset that the guy's brain was wiped. And, there's some of that drama there. And then Jack, goes after a raccoon, which it was fun, but I do think they gave Jack too many powers. It's just too much.
Yeah, and they also, that scene kind of dragged, too. Like, it was really long. All you gotta do is just show him go outside and then, use a power or two and then be found. Like, that scene was a little bit too stretched out.
Yeah. It was fun, but it was just like, come on, get it, wrap it up. So, he calls Frozzo in and they go investigate and they're like, oh, you should take him to Edna. Get a suit for him, which again parallels exactly how the first one movie was when they get their suits from Edna. And and she's another character that literally disappears. She appears for that one scene and then is never seen again. So, Mr.
And honestly, like that Jack has a bunch of power. Like, first of all, I kind of have I don't necessarily think it was ever. I don't think officially it's a continuity snarl, but I find it very, very hard to believe they didn't know about his powers after the first one. He used his that's effectively the reason why Syndrome died.
Yeah.
So why didn't they know?
Did they not
see? Yeah. Did they not see? Did they, that's a problem. Like, and the thing is, it's not like one or two, it's not like, only the mom knew, or only Mr. Incredible, no one knew, even though it was, it happened in the last film.
Yeah. I mean, what happens between the last film and this film were within minutes, so they should remember this. And
yes.
They don't really go after anything that happened on the island after, they just totally
they
drop
don't. In fact, I have a huge problem in the sense of this film, in a way, and also, it's weird because it's a direct sequel that completely ignores the first one.
But it's also dependent on it.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It's strange because it makes you. If they're not gonna use any material or bring up anything from the first one, why even have it set right after it?
Yeah. I mean, it's really weird because it's both a remake of the first one and the continuation of the first one, but it's never its own movie. I never think that, They just kind of move on, and so it's just kind of a weird way to tell your story, It's like episode 2. It's not season 2.
Yeah.
So, we get a scene where Elastigirl, is investigating and finds out, where the lair of, the screen slaver is, and the sister of the guy that hired her is. We eventually learn that she's the villain, which I saw.
Which, you see coming from a mile away. It's like, just right from the start, you can, right from because the thing is, we can't be fooled twice.
Mm-hmm.
The first film firmly established, the company that Mr. Incredible was, they turned out to be the bad guys. Why wouldn't these people be the bad guys? Or at least one of them. It's literally the same thing, only the genders are swapped.
And it's not the I forget the woman with white hair's name. But it's the brother. That's the good guy. And the sister's the evil one. It's like it's literally the same thing.
Yeah, the same exact thing. Where,
it's a tiny like switch of the thing, but again, it's like the employees or the employers who hire you. One of them is the true villain who's going to kill you because they don't like supers because X reason.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. So,
yeah, it's the same thing.
So, we get, oh, look how Elastigirl captured, a screen slave, and, people are like, oh, wow, look at how good press this is, and, here's a whole bunch of other supers, and they are there just to advance the plot, to have something to fight against. And
yeah, they don't do anything besides, like, be mind-controlled and give them a reason to fight something. That's it. That's all those characters do. They don't add anything to the story beyond basically people to fight. That's it.
Yeah, and the whole thing with Screenslaver is the more you think about it, the more it doesn't make sense. Because she helps Elastigirl find her. Elastigirl is always helped by her, and when you get to the point where Screenslaver controls Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, why does she allow the accords to be signed to repeal the law?
Why not stop it right from the start?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, the whole reason is they wanted a action scene in the fourth act, and that was it. That was the reason, is to have an action scene.
Yeah. That was the reason. And also, by the way, it's because if they didn't have that action scene, the other family members wouldn't have done anything in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like, because the thing is, the reason why that feels like a slap in the face is because, like, at the ending of the first one, you get the idea that, they're going to start fighting as a team. And the thing is, the entire point of the first one is that, no man is an island. No man can, no one person can do everything on their own, which was the problem with Mr. Incredible. He wanted to tackle all these issues on his own, and that's why, he got captured, and, he almost died because he didn't have anyone to have his back. And at the end of the first one, you have his family save him. And this is basically the entire, this is the same dang thing.
Mm-hmm. And it's frustrating, because it's predictable, it becomes cliche.
And it's much worse than the first one in the sense that it's not even like...
the original.
No, okay. It's not the original, but the original was, like...
Fresh.
I'm not gonna say it was a masterpiece, but the thing about the first one was that it was pretty intellectual in the sense of, like, Syndrome's plan was to normalize powers so that they didn't mean anything anymore. Mm-hmm. That is a much more compelling and it's a lot more complex and interesting goal than just, my dad died because, X reason.
So, yeah, and then Screenslaver, so the whole point was to be back at the status quo, where you start the movie. Which is like, come on, what's the point? It's meaningless. There's no stakes. So, and then they're like, oh, well, the city's going to be destroyed by the boat. No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
No.
And... it's like, okay, they're going to sign the accords on a boat. I'm sorry, why would they be doing that? I know they saved the ambassador, but who cares?
Why is it that the world just suddenly turns pro-hero and you have all these ambassadors, like, having their heroes? Like, was it an entire world ban, or was it just America? Because this implies, like, the entire UN or something, like, the entire world, like, just... decided that another thing, the whole, like, I think a reason is given in Incredibles why heroes were banned. They don't really ever mention why they were banned.
They kind of imply
And it
damage.
seems like something that needs.
You know.
Well, yeah, but that's obvious. Like, it seems like they would have needed to, because okay, if you ask me, I think a lot more a more compelling goal to villain of the film would be that heroes, like, maybe, okay, you can have sort of like a Marvel-esque like reference to it, and basically there was effectively a war between two groups of superheroes, and it caused untold devastation, and maybe she lost her dad that way. And so the reason why she feels like, there needs to be no superheroes is because they're not just like collateral damage, but they also, are a danger to each other and to themselves. It's like these things are not hard. Like, this isn't a difficult thing to understand. It just seems like, and okay,
It's
another
scratched the
thing.
surface.
It's playing it too safe and being too small-brained about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And just to add insult to injury, by the way, I don't know if this played in your theater. In mine, at the very start of the film, like even before the film plays, they have this like little thing, and they have like this line about like, yeah, well, 14 years took a while to make the film really good. I'm like, 14 years for this?
Yeah. I saw that too.
Like, come on. It seems to me, though, like, realistically speaking, this is not anything like what would have been, because I'm not completely certain on the development of Incredibles 2, but to me this seems like something that was slapped together very recently.
Yeah.
Very recently, because it, like,
there's
again,
so many plot holes. There's tons of plot holes.
Tons. And the thing is that it's nothing. This is the insulting part. It is copying the bullet points and major scenes from the first film while importing none of the depth or none. Nothing.
I agree fully.
Because the thing was about Incredibles. The reason why it was incredible, to use the name. The reason why it was incredible was not because it was, a family superhero film. It was because of the dynamics between the characters, the
great villain.
The great villain who had a motive that was, like, essentially like, essentially what he wants to do is, he wants to normalize, these powers so that, they're not special. Because when everyone has, because when everyone's super, no one will be.
So, the movie, it, basically ends with a big action scene with all the other supers fighting the kids, and it's just like, okay, if you already have Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl as your, people to control, just go out and wreck the city with them. And there you go. That's how the Accords don't get signed. That's how, they sign the Accords. Why would you let it happen?
Yeah.
And then, why is this some rich guy's boat giving the signing ceremony? It should be downtown, for God's sakes. It's the law.
It should be like at the the UN.
Yeah, or something. But of course, that wouldn't be a good action scene, and
Yeah.
So it does all that, and okay, cool. It looks like everything's wrapped up, and Violet's got her boyfriend back, and then they do the same thing where they're like
They do the exact same thing where it's like, but this time it's not the Underminer. It's just some random robbers.
Yeah.
Which it's like a worse version of like.
The first.
I would have thought it would have been a big meme if the Underminer just showed up again.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
No, but because it's like it's like a way of you know what I mean, like I'm back, like
Yeah. So
because he's still out there.
He's still out there. They never caught him. They never mentioned it after that first act. And
that would have been funny too. It was like not this guy again, and they could have mentioned me like let's catch him this time.
So it's okay. I do like the comedy, and I do think the action was well done. So those two things I do like, but I didn't love it. I thought it was, I'm frustrated because I want more, because it should be more. Not because I'm
frustrated because the things that I like and the things that I enjoyed are just so surface level. They're things that are not like you could say, okay, it looks good. Or you could say, I like this fight scene or I like this joke. But those things aren't like the meat.
Yeah.
There is no substance. There's none. It's a
crappy copy.
Well, yeah, and honestly, to be honest, here, I would have rather waited another 14 years and actually have gotten a really good film than this, because it's not. And the worst part is honestly, look at the box office. Look at how well it's doing. Look at how much critics. This is not going to be the only film. They're going to make a third one. They're going to make more. That's just the way the film industry works. It's not like this film is going to bomb. It's not like critics are going to hate it. So the worst part is that I feel personally that we are definitely in the minority here.
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah. I saw on Rotten Tomatoes the average is 95, and I was like, are you kidding me? 95? No, it's not 95. It's not 9. It's not a 7. It is a 6 out of 10 for me. Which is still, hey, that's a nice movie. It's not terrible.
Yeah, but it should be good.
It should be 8.
Really good.
It should be 9.
And the thing is, you can do your own thing. You don't have to be the first movie. The first movie was really good because, it was original and it had its own thing. Have your own movie. Make your own movie here. You have the characters. You do have characters. You do have a world. You do have like a foundation. You can use that to make a really good film. And to me, it just felt like this script and this concept and everything were slapped together in the last year or so. After the bajillionth Card movie, they decided, okay, let's finally do Incredibles 2. And it felt like there was none of the original heart in this film at all.
Yeah, it doesn't fulfill its premise.
No.
You say, oh, I'm disappointed. No, it's not about me. It's about it. It does not do what it needs to do to really, move beyond just the first one.
Let's put it this way, because I don't know about you, but I believe in objective quality.
Yeah.
Meaning a film can be objectively good or objectively bad based on facts, not opinion. What this film does, it essentially gives you everything that you had in the first movie, just minus the depth and minus the originality because of the second time. You just talking about subplots, all of the subplot, like what gets resolved in this film, what brought up in this film isn't just either ignored, like forgotten, like okay, here you go. Like the Violet subplot goes nowhere. Like she just asks him out again, and it works out. the Dash subplot with the math goes nowhere. Like, he just figures it out, and then there you go. The Jack subplot, like, oh, he has all these powers we didn't know, but he does.
They have a suit now and a remote control, so it's all good. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like they just threw out these subplots to give the other character to give the idea that these other characters were doing anything, when in reality, the only character that does anything in this film is Alaska.
Yeah.
I have no idea why, like, they made it all about her when the first film made it clear that you need every member of the family. Every member, even the baby, because in the end of the day, Jack's the one who kills Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's disappointing. It's disappointing, and it also feels like they, like you said, they give, they copy and pasted it, and I'm like, all right, let's tweak here, change that, and that's it. That's good enough. First draft. This will make $500 million. We don't need to put that much effort.
It just seems to me like they
lazy.
Didn't put any effort into it because they knew it would sell, whether it was good or whether it was bad, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah. So, what score would you give it, James?
Well, honestly, like, probably a 5 out of 10. It's
it is fun. It's funny.
It's fun. It's not terrible. It's not. But the thing is that Incredibles 1 was so good that I realized that it was very unlikely the sequel would ever live up to the first one, and I can accept that. But there's tons of sequels that, while they aren't as good as the first one, they still serve as a companion piece. They still are good in their own right and do their own thing.
And, like, it doesn't raise the stakes at all. It doesn't, make it a grander story, because, like, compared to, like, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, it's a much bigger story. Or Superman versus Superman 2, much bigger scale, much more important. You got everything you needed in the first one, and you just got, you went with it. It doesn't seem like a bigger, better movie. It just seems like more of the same, but worse.
Yep.
So, yeah. I kind of thought the short beforehand was actually better than the movie.
Yeah, that was a short.
That was weird short. The only problem I had with it was that kept the black in the eyes, and it was just creepy.
Yeah, it was kind of the animation was really weird, like the character designs.
It was fun. It was sweet, but it was still creepy.
Yes.
All right, so I guess that's going to wrap up this podcast.
Yes.
It's unfortunate. We're the only ones that I know of that are giving this I guess what I feel like, and I think you feel like too, James, the fair treatment. We don't give Pixar or Disney we don't cut them slack. We don't
because we as consumers, as customers of this brand, of this product, we're entitled to a quality, thing. We pay the money, and then they provide a good experience. And basically what they did, it feels like, is they just, took the first one, changed some things, and then, like, packaged it. And that's it. It feels bad because it's like, on top of being disappointed, you also cheated.
Yeah. I kind of wondered how much I still like Incredibles 1. Like, I kind of thought maybe this kind of cheapened my love for that original movie now. Because, like, maybe it wasn't as good as I thought. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I'll have to rewatch it. But from what I remember, it was still really good. We'll have to. We might have to do that. Revisit Incredibles and see.
I was hoping too for an MCU call out of some sorts, and
that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, maybe hint at the reason why there's no more supers is because of, like, something like in Marvel, the explosion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So that's going to be it. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Before this podcast ends, I want to give a thank you to my patrons. Right now, we have one patron, which is David from Spain, and I want to thank you for your financial support to help making this possible. If you want your name to be called out and your location, please become a patron on Patreon. Our link should be in the description, or just look for us, 3D or 2D, on Patreon, and you get plenty of benefits. So again, thank you, David from Spain, and I hope to have many more Patreon patrons with us soon. Thanks again, David. All right, so that's going to be it for this podcast.
We now have a Patreon, and the link is in the description. Thanks for watching.
And we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, little bit everywhere. Just look for us, 3D or 2D. And of course, review us on iTunes. And if you want to write us a letter, our email address is email3dortwo2d@gmail.com. So that's going to be it. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.